topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where for the last 16 years, we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is the last Monday of the month, 9 o'clock Eastern time, and that only means one thing. Attorney Debbie Baker. Good morning, attorney.
Hey, good morning, host. And how are you this morning?
I'm trying to think of the right word. I just gotta say, I love doing your show. And I've been sending you your last couple shows. I don't know what's happened, but your show is really starting to gain traction after all these years we've been doing this show. I was amazed, but you're probably my easiest show to do.
Good, I'm glad.
I'm going to tell you, I'm buttering you up. You are a sweetheart. And when it comes to estate planning, you've got to really have somebody that you yoke with. Debbie, tell people about your law firm.
Okay. So my law firm is, I hate to say things that date the shows, but my law, but anyway, my law firm is just over 10 years old. I'm a solopreneur. I do not do it by myself. I have a mentor and colleague that we've been working together for the last 8 years. In my first semester in law school, I learned that anybody could graduate from law school and open a practice, and they didn't need a coach or a mentor or anything, which they would have if they worked in a law firm, but if they work for themselves, they don't have. Right. And I remember hearing that and thinking that was malpractice. I mean, really? You could let somebody take on something like the law. So I've had a mentor since I started. I had one for a couple of years, and then we are still friends, and he wasn't somebody who liked to manage people. So that didn't work. But I've been working with somebody else for about 8 years, and she's got a lot more experience than me. So it's somebody to lean on. And the whole point of my practice is to be of service. Anything I've ever done has been to be of service. So the idea, just like the conversation Rebel and I were having before we started, is if there's anything I can offer somebody that makes their life even a little bit easier, then I'm thrilled with the opportunities to do it. And I do estates and wills and trusts and probate and elder law. Probate, unfortunately, is what shows up after someone dies if they haven't planned sufficiently or well or at all. But it's the idea of keeping people out of probate, which just gets the government involved in things and costs people money that they shouldn't have to pay, and just helping them make difficult decisions. Elder law is the same thing. It's the idea that I've come to really appreciate, that people need a way to protect their assets that they've worked really, really hard for all their lives. They've built 401ks or retirement plans or savings accounts or whatever, and people think they have to spend their last dollar to qualify for government benefits. And I've come to realize that's not true, and that it's totally legal, ethical, and moral to help people protect what they've had for their legacy as well. A situation with you and Sophia, if you were married, it's the idea that if one of you is ill and needs some kind of help and the other one is not, you could protect your assets to keep the one who doesn't need the help in a lifestyle to which they become accustomed, not to which they'd like to become accustomed. That's what people tease about, right? But to which they become accustomed so they don't give up everything in order to get government benefits. So everything I do is all designed around helping people make decisions and make their life easier when the time comes. That's what my
So
practice is.
I saved the story I wanted to tell to you during the show so I can get a reaction from you. So I'm standing in line at the grocery store Saturday, and there was a long line. There was a lady in front of me. I think it was her daughter, and she said, "You know what? I've got to make sure that you guys are protected. Even though all I have a little money in my bank account, I have my home and my car. I don't have very much to leave you all, but I need to do something about it, but it doesn't seem like there's very much to leave." So I said, "I'm not trying to listen in on your conversation, but I have a show and I have an estate planning attorney that I've learned that it doesn't matter how much or how little you have, you've got to protect whatever you have. And if I were you, and I'd looked up on my phone, and the good thing I had all my emails from you, and I found your email so I could give her your number, and I said, don't even waste one day. I would call her Monday. You will love her. I had to spice it up a little bit. I didn't want to tell her how mean you are,
Thank you.
but
Thank you.
anyway, there's a lot of people out there like that, Debbie, that think, oh, you know what? I don't have very much, and I don't need to get an attorney for that. But that's just not so.
It's not so. It's not so. Yeah, it's not so. There are services out there. I had somebody last week who had asked for my business card for his mother to hopefully help. And I asked if his mother had gotten it done, and he said yes. And he said, and I don't have the money. I think it cost her X number of dollars. And I said, well, I charge more than that. But when I saw him again, I said, listen, if she got a good plan for the money that you said she got it for, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. It matters that she got it done. It doesn't matter with whom
Right.
she got it done. It matters that she got it done. So it'll be fun if this woman calls me. I still am not amazed, almost saddened by the superstitions or the false beliefs people have about what it takes to have an estate and what it costs to protect it. And with no understanding. So right now I have a friend whose mother died, and she's the successor trustee of the trust. And there were a couple of other things, and her mother left everything to this friend of mine and her brother. Her brother predeceased her mother. So I'm pretty sure we have to probate her brother's estate so that my friend, can now own 100% of it. No reason anybody would have known that. No reason for them to have thought about it when her brother died, which was 3 years ago. And so now you've got this potential double whammy to the surviving child of having to do something that could have been done 3 years ago while she wasn't grieving the loss of her mother. People don't know. There's no reason for them to know. I knew none of this when I graduated from law school. Law school's a great way to give people a way to think and stuff like that. When most graduates don't get practical experience during their law school journey, they go straight for 3 years, or they might get an internship or something like that. And if they don't, not that they should, but all the learning's on the ground. All the learning's once you pass the bar and you're out there talking to people. So anything I've learned in the last 10 years, I've learned not from law school. I've learned from being in the trenches, so to speak,
Right.
in tough situations where the compassion I have and the fact that I wasn't 26 years old when I graduated from law school really stands me in good stead, because I can stand in somebody else's shoes and at least try to empathize with what it must be like to be in the situation they're in when they couldn't have imagined being there to begin with. And and you and I've talked, and I really do try to make it fun. I mean, whatever it is, my goal would be if we can laugh about it, no matter how serious it is, then even if we can laugh at the person who didn't do the planning, then some of the stress is released, and thinking is clearer and more easily done, and people can make decisions, hard choices, often very hard choices, um, and they can make them with a lighter heart and move on. So yeah.
Debbie, I got people, I don't know, people who've just joined the show might not know that you were a life coach before this.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I've got so many questions here for you, but I wanted to ask this: how did or how does you being a life coach help you with your practice today?
Well, I said, that um, I've developed or been gifted with a good sense of humor and a good bit of compassion, and it helps where, okay, sitting in a room with people who don't have family, um, who do you appoint? Who do you appoint to represent you when you don't have any family? Really, really hard. I mean, really, really hard, and you don't have people you trust. So it's being able to stand in the position without insisting that you find somebody, so much as helping them think about ways they could get done what they wanted to get done. Or they have family, but they don't trust the family. That's even harder. They don't trust the family. So what are the alternatives for them to have some peace of mind? So that's where the coaching comes in. It's like, okay, so can we consider this, and we can consider this? I have somebody right now who was referred to me by a client who's become a friend. I guess the guy is in his 40s, maybe late 30s. He doesn't have a spouse. He doesn't have any children. Seems like he doesn't have any close friends, and doesn't seem to really have anybody he can trust. Well, then that's a matter of like, okay, so what do you do if you want to do this? And he seems like he has quite a substantial estate, not millions of dollars, but sounds like it's close to $1 million with nobody to leave it to. So how do I coach him to say, well, you can appoint a professional, you can appoint a lawyer to have a role, or you can appoint a professional fiduciary to have a role. I mean, that's all legitimate. You just have to be aware that fees are attached to that. Generally, when people appoint family, they don't compensate them.
Mm.
But when you appoint an outside person, actually, you have to compensate them. So, well, I guess the person could waive it, but they're allowed by law to be compensated. So the coaching comes in with just looking at the situation where it is, looking at the situation where somebody's going to disinherit a child. Had one last week where they're going to disinherit one of their children and not disinherit that child's children. So I said, okay, so why don't you leave the child something and then each of the children something? And they said, well, we already decided we were going to disinherit them. I was just looking for a way for maybe them to include the one child nominally, because the child does keep up with his parents to some degree, but I'm not going to argue with them. So I was hoping that the parents might be able to consider, yeah, we can leave Joe this much and we can leave each of the kids this much. And so we're disinheriting the son. It was just offering alternatives, bringing different thinking to the table that they wouldn't have thought of, bringing thinking to the table that they might have thought of, but they thought they dismissed it because it was silly or outrageous, and just being compassionate with what it means to disinherit a child. So that's where the coaching comes in.
So, right in your own backyard, a celebrity who just passed away, I guess I can give his name, Hulk Hogan. Um, he took his daughter out of the will. And I always wondered, Debbie, I mean, do you counsel a person like that going, like, are you sure this is what you want to do? I mean, after you leave, you don't have to bother with it anymore, but it's still on, in his case, his daughter. That happened right in your backyard.
I ask people if they're sure that's what they want to do. Um, I ask them like to give me some reasons, not to actually protect me if that person comes back. The thing I've learned about cutting people out, which I thought was really interesting, the culture teaches us if we go to a restaurant and we don't like the service, we leave $1. I mean, that's an indicator to the server that we acknowledged, but you didn't do the job. And what I
Right.
learned years ago was if you're going to disinherit, you have to leave them. You can't leave them anything, because as soon as you leave them something, you give them a right to contest it. Anybody
Ooh.
can anybody can contest a will. We've talked about this on previous. Anybody can contest a will, but the legal jargon is standing. If you leave them $1, you've given them standing because you've named them as a beneficiary. So they can claim it was a mistake, they claim it was a bad day. They can claim they remembered that, the day before they'd had a big argument with nothing in very clear language. It's very clear. Could they still maybe find somebody to contest it? Possibly. But it's less likely because we've talked about Terry Schiavo. Terry Schiavo had a living
Yes.
will. Then her husband would have been much more quickly able to have her let her die than happened because she didn't. Now her parents could have still brought suit, and I'm not saying the attorney that defended them wouldn't have brought suit. They would have had, in my opinion, they would have had less equality with the husband because he had a document that said, "I don't want to live like this." So the disinheritance, I don't ever recommend people. And I've asked clients, I've said, have you reconciled with so-and-so? I mean, years later, I'll say, thanks, Rebel. Have you reconciled with so-and-so? I haven't had anybody say yes yet. Because if they said yes, I would say, then do you want to change your documents?
Right.
Do you want to? I haven't had anybody say yes. And actually, it's a great thought because I'll go through my brain and see how many people do I know who disinherited, and then make a conscious choice to call them all and say, have you reconciled? Do you want to do something about this? Because it's huge. It's huge. It's a huge thing. I can't. I have a nephew who's disinherited. He's disconnected from his whole family, his mother's side of the family and his father's side of the family. I can kind of get why he's disconnected from his father. I can't get why he's disconnected from me and his other two uncles or his mother's side of the family. He's just disconnected from everyone, and it's such a loss because his brother has two children. He's got a father who would love to have him in his life. He's got an aunt and two uncles and we would all love to have him in our lives, and he's just seemingly not interested. So anyway, part of what I do is very sad because I get into situations like that.
Mm.
Most of it's really joyous because I get to give people peace of mind. And in the world of probate, I get to give them a way forward. And in the world of the elder law planning, it's a way forward just in case. You can do planning if you become incapacitated and never implement it. But if you have it in place and you need it, then it's done, and you're not scurrying to do things. So, yeah, God was smart when I was smart when I listened to God send me to law school because it's really, it's been a gift worth having. It's an education worth having. And I wouldn't know you if I hadn't gone to law school. Who knows?
Oh, there she goes. Okay, she's buttering up again, sucking up. So, we're talking about wills. What is a last will and testament, and what are some of the things that should be remembered when you're considering doing a will?
Okay, so last will and testament is the document that stays in place after you pass, and it becomes relevant if there's anything you own short of a car that you have only in your name. So it's the bank account that you opened and you forgot to name Sophia as beneficiary. It's because you opened it to stash away money for a vacation, and you just thought, oh, I'm going to use this right away. You have a trust and you own a home, and then you buy another piece of property and it's only in your name, and you don't put it into the trust. So the last will and testament is naming a person who's going to manage all that when you pass, and it's only for assets that you own only in your own name. If you own everything with beneficiary designations or everything goes into a trust, then the will is it's a placeholder. It's also there, God forbid there's a malpractice suit or a personal injury suit, and they need a vehicle. All the Camp Lejeune people, the families of Camp Lejeune, the lawsuit for Camp Lejeune and the environmental stuff, every one of them have to do a probate and have somebody appointed to have a vehicle to collect the settlements whenever they happen. So the last will and testament is that piece of paper that only goes into effect when you pass and is to manage the assets you own by yourself only at the time. That's what the last will and testament is. We're in a countdown to almost no time.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I've got so many questions here, and I'm going to use these questions next month because you're with us every month. No, last Monday of the month at 9:00 Eastern time, one of the finest estate planning attorneys in Florida, Debbie Baker. How do people reach you, Debbie?
My phone number is 813-586-1332, 813-586-1332. And the email address is Deb Baker, 2 B's in the middle, at London, like the city, London Baker Law. Deb Baker at London Baker Law. And please mention the show when you call or email so I can thank Steve for doing this. Buttering up.
And also you can thank her cat by calling 1-999-CAT if you want to leave a message. Anyway, Debbie, thank you so much.
Right.
You're a blessing. We'll see you next month.
See you next month. Bye, Rebel.
We're going to go to a break. We will be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.